So this is a video about Supergirl, because apparently I'm a pervert. Far From Home is where Kara goes to Europe. Yeah, I'm not making this joke. It's one of the last JLU episodes and is a minor bookend. Before it's all spectacle, at the start of the show, our entry into Unlimited was through a tale with a reluctant Green Arrow, a veteran Green Lantern, and a reckless rookie Supergirl, also Captain Atom. Now Far From Home features a dependable Green Arrow, a highly experienced Supergirl.
No notes, Kara. I've got nothing left to teach you.
And John Stewart, who's just sort of there. It's Kara's 21st birthday. She's now one of the best and even spends her special day training. But that's also worrying.
You ever think about how she must feel? She's always an outsider.
I know a little bit about that myself, Ollie.
Just a little. You came to Earth as a baby, grew up here. Kara spent most of her life on a planet with technology hundreds of years ahead of ours. She's gotta feel like she's trapped in the Stone Age.
Kara is completely blind to her own identity crisis because she hasn't experienced enough life, a trend which defines her for the most of the episode.
I'm not getting a bad vibe off the kid.
And apparently neither are you.
All Supergirl has is her pride in following her cousin's footsteps. The big strength of this episode is its sense of adventure, romance, and the characters, because even though it's totally absurd how much happens in 20 minutes, Brainiac 5 in the future abducts 3 League members to help him because no one else is left, Kara falls in love with the guy in an afternoon, the stakes are big, the emotions are high, but what bounds everything together is the balanced sense of naturalism to the way the characters are written.
You're in love with her.
Ludicrous, we just met.
The dialogue is unpretentious and grounded. The conversation between Ollie and Superman, which introduces Kara's predicament, doesn't feel like exposition. Superman expresses apprehension, pride, and humor in his replies.
And I'm very proud. But don't tell her.
When Kara learns that her historical records end after this mission, inferring her death, she kisses Brainiac 5 and is ready to die with pride in order to save a world, while Brainiac 5 gets his first boner. The big problem of the episode, which is also ironically the thing that solves another issue at the same time, is the lack of Supergirl's perspective. Her motives and actions are consistent and readable from the outside, but this is ultimately her story, where she makes a pretty big decision. At the end, Kara decides to stay in the future, in a place where she finally feels like she belongs, where new challenges await and she can be her best self. We understand it, but we aren't privileged to any conflicts in her feelings. We just witness them through everyone else.
Tell Mom and Pa I love them. And I love you too, Clark.
However, in 20 minutes, this focus on the reactions ironically makes the story feel more complete, because there's no dangling emotional threads or doubts. It's a satisfying straight line.
History says Supergirl never returned from this mission because she decided to stay in the future.
Clark looks sad, but then realizes he gets it. He's proud of how far she's come, and she feels real. The next film solves this problem by... actually doesn't.
Something changing your mind.
You still owe me a computer.
Superman Batman Apocalypse is a really dumb title because it features the Trinity and Kara is the main subject. She's the one with the big transformation from homeless to finding a purpose in life. And the movie is kind of just meh. There's some really cool fight scenes, Superman's muscles are very nicely detailed, but on the other hand, there's very little meat to the story because it constantly skips over Kara's development and instead gestures the results to create the illusion of development.
You're not gonna let her take me away, are you?
Like, she doesn't want to go to Themyscira and is angry about having a choice made for her, but the next time you see her, you don't see her learning to settle down. She already has, and is besties with Lila.
I'm tired of being jerked around, treated like a child. From now on, I'll decide what's best for me.
The most baffling part of the story is also Kara's under-discussed amnesia.
Do you remember your mother's name?
You know I don't.
This is an origin story where she lands on Earth in the beginning and must learn to discover who she is in order to find where she fits in her new home.
And everyone pretending to know what's best for me? Ah!
So there's an opportunity to obviously dive into her trauma. Perhaps her amnesia puts her on a path of confrontation where she must eventually face what's repressed to move on and figure herself out. Or perhaps she has no interest in these lost memories. She's compartmentalized them in a healthy way. So her challenge maybe is the temptation of the past.
You've got plenty of time to decide.
I want to know everything there is to know about being an Earth girl. Where do we start?
The film approximates the latter. She doesn't remember her mum's name and just wants to be an Earth girl. There's even a shopping montage. But her unprocessed pain never comes up outside of Batman's suspicion. Instead, the conflict is entirely derived from the politics of her existence. She's the MacGuffin. Darkseid wants her for his female furies, Diana wants to train her as an Amazon, and Clark just wants to smother her with his protection. On one hand, the drama does work here and makes sense. Every time Kara has the sense of agency, it's taken away, so we understand her frustration, but by never going any deeper into her mind, like the emotional consequences of her being unable to remember her mum's name, her arc feels incomplete, shallow, and to an extent, it makes everyone around her walk in circles.
Ever since this girl came into our lives, you've let your guard down, Clark.
She loves Earth, but we don't understand how she arrived into this feeling. Is it because it allows her to avoid thinking about her mum? Does she feel guilt if that's the case? There's loads of possible directions the writing could have taken, but it's so focused on making Kara the MacGuffin that her own arc feels largely obligatory in a weird way. She has like 2 lines with Lila, and yet she becomes her hero. She doesn't want the pressure of being anyone's champion like her cousin, but then she becomes Supergirl anyways. What Kara does get in the end is a place to retreat to, the Kent farm.
When you're strong enough, there's somewhere I want to take you, where you can be safe, where you can fit in, where you can just be yourself.
A simple, quiet life where she can live humbly while helping strangers without the demands of anything else. That's what Big Barda has. It's what Superman is a product of, and it's Clark's gift to Kara. But what does that have anything to do with amnesia? In contrast, what's missing in Superman Batman Apocalypse is the very content that makes up Legion of the Superheroes. Unlike the other two, Kara isn't the main subject, she's actually the main character. We spend time with her on Krypton. We're introduced to her mother, her competitive nature, and Kara's hopes and dreams with joining the military guild.
Kara Zor-El, you have officially been assigned to the military guild.
It's rather impressive how in just a few moments we develop a sense of familiarity and belongingness with the utopian advanced society of Krypton. As a result, when Kara is on Earth, a deep and shared root is planted. We share her irritation with everything that's missing, and her feelings of want. Although in Superman Batman Apocalypse, there is also the equally deep characterization of her arriving naked. Both films do share the same trope of Superman being overly accepting and Batman being overly concerned with Clark being taken advantage of.
I expect you to be rational.
Your cousin is a problem.
But this time it feels more warranted. Kara's frustration leads to loads of property damage.
Solomon Grundy has been...
My apartment building!
And Clark, instead of being reluctant in letting her live her own life, he actually sends her away to be trained. It's here that she falls in love with Brainiac 5 as expected. But instead of being the boy next door type, he's now a freak outsider.
Not surprising for a lesser mind.
How is this not a villain?
The core of this film is an exploration of acceptance. Brainiac 5 is a clone of Brainiac, so everyone is suspicious over his destiny. The cadets she joins are a bunch of lamos.
Face it, we're waiting list material at best.
But she accepts them all. Thus, to Brainiac, Kara is the ultimate insider. Unlike him, she belongs to an important and accepted family. She's beautiful and also confident. However, to her, Brainiac is how she feels. Supergirl has experienced the same scrutiny back on Earth.
Why would they believe me? No one ever does.
The same distrust. As a result, what draws her to the future isn't the challenge, but this feeling of true acceptance. To share herself with someone, a partner who's as smart as her, as competitive, who also gets it.
I mean, why?
Because I believe you.
Together, they defy the past by saying farewell to what made them feel incomplete, and find such completion through each other.
Thank you.
For what?
The episode Far From Home, Superman Batman Apocalypse, and Legion of the Superheroes share many similar storytelling features. 2 of them are about a young Kara landing on Earth and experiencing a crisis of identity, and all 3 are about Kara going to some sort of utopian society to either train or save it, or even both, in which 2 of these she finds a boyfriend with Brainiac 5. The purpose of this video was to compare and contrast these tropes and to try and identify Kara's character, what makes her tick, and what's consistent or different across these similar and yet really different stories.
We're all alike, for each of us, in our own way, had to struggle to become who we are. But what better role for anyone to aspire to than hero?
This may shock you, but she's proud to be your cousin. She even changed her costume to look more like yours.
I'm sorry. I was wrong about everything. I'm supposed to be smart and logical. My plan to stop the Dark Circle wasn't logical. It was me trying to prove to everyone that I'm not my family. I'm not just another evil clone.
So allow me to reintroduce my cousin, Kara Zor-El, or as the world will come to know her, Supergirl.
Not like you. You're so confident, brilliant, and strong, and...
Staring at the wall, I know you really love the color. We picked it out over the phone. Remember what you said, but I could never tell the meaning. I try to see what I have been shown. Staring at the pictures now, I know they try to show me. I cannot see, but God knows I try. Believer of the mysteries, I try to find a way not to cry.
Alright, so that was the Comparing Supergirls video. This was quite literally the second version of this video. I had completely finished a version, which had a finished voiceover, music, everything was all done. But I was really not happy with it, so I ended up adding in the JLU Far From Home episode to help round out the three things and to help create a sense of rhythm to the comparison without it being very obviously a comparison, because that was sort of the goal of the video. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed it. This video was a pain in the ass to make.
Victor, an incredible mind like yours deserves a body.